Okay, everyone, we are ready to go into the second series of the day. Starting off the best of 5 with a game on Arena, as the maps are preset. Okay, Buster needs a second. Our first match will be between Buster, a GM Terran, versus Carnage, a Master Zerg. That sounds familiar. I feel like he's been GM before. Yes, he has. Well, in 2013. Huh.
Wait, who? What?
Carnage. You sounded familiar. Maybe because of Carnage.
Sound familiar because there's a source of a bunch of drama. Because you played a hacker, we wouldn't let him replay.
Yeah. I was actually gonna say Carnage Esports.
You probably don't remember because you didn't have to publicly apologize.
Probably.
Now, the reason I bring this up is not to be bitter, not to be spiteful, but just letting everybody know this did happen in the past, and that being said, not going to affect how we commentate the game.
Sure.
I'm finishing off my Pop-Tart.
Yes, you are. He was Grandmaster 3 years ago, 2 years ago, really, Season 4. But Buster is Grandmaster now, so I'm not sure how this game is going to go. Guess it depends on how high up Buster was on that ladder, but I didn't get a chance to check, because you're going to the game right now. You can just see their clan tags. Carnage is playing for Rutgers, and Buster is playing for University of Waterloo. University of Waterloo does have a better score right now overall at 4-1, whereas the other team is at a 3-2. It's not a bad score, actually. I think they're both trying to get to those playoffs. We'll see which one has a better chance at the end of this best of 5. In the top left, as the Purple Terran, he's Carnage. Or, Terran. Purple Zerg, he's Carnage.
I'm telling you, everyone is tuning in. I don't know what it is. There's something about being the person streaming. It screws you up when you're doing it like intros. I do it all the time. It's not really flawless. We do CSL. It's a role reversal. I don't know what happens. There's like, Illuminati shit going on. Someone's pulling the strings. But okay.
Probably.
In the bottom left, it's going to be the Green Terran player, Buster. And people in chat saying, we're about to see the power of Buster. So that's kind of cool. So good luck, Waterloo.
Change that right there. Yeah, I guess good luck to them. I mean, seeing a GM portrait versus a master portrait is,
Daunting.
for some people, yeah. For other people, not so much. For the ex-GMs, the high masters who face GMs on ladder all the time, actually, it might not be such a big deal, especially when, you consider that low GM, mid GM, high GM, professional gamer, Korean gamer, like those are all leaps and bounds between each other.
Before we go too hard on ranks, though, there's a dynamic that has been afflicting the NA server for well over the last 5 or 6 months now, where a lot of people aren't actually playing A, their main accounts, or B, at all on the North American server, even if they're North American players. You'll be on the East Coast, you got a better chance connecting to Europe. Chances are you're going to want to practice on Europe. It's an overall better experience and better for you. So it might actually just be a simple fact that maybe Carnage doesn't play on NA with this account.
That's a good point. That is certainly very possible. Typically, I guess for like those who are not yet those like, hey, I recognize that name, like, oh yeah, you played in a couple of tournaments, like they are mostly focusing on getting to top NA before they start saying things like, oh, I practice on European solely, and this is what I do. But I have actually known a few people who, even as they rise the ranks to masters, so diamond and whatnot, consider better practice on Korea or Europe. They have the connection. Alright, so it is a TVZ on Arena between some pretty good players, regardless of how you look at it. And we do not have Carnage going for anything cheesy. He's just getting 2 queens and a lot of drones. See an evolution chamber, don't see a roach warren, which is certainly what's been happening on Arena most of the time here. Is either a roach rush early on, get some ravagers, try and poke in and out, or do you go for those drops that's in the end games really quickly?
Yeah, the drops have actually been kind of insane because we've been seeing them all over the place. The funny thing is, though, I actually kind of feel like those drops require a certain degree of being at the top tier of the meta. Like, you're not going to see bronze leaguers reaching out for that drop intuitively. They're going to have to watch somebody else have done that to them or watch the stream type thing first. So I don't know if how proactive Carnage has or hasn't been. I was giving an explanation for potential before, but there's also the reality is that he just might not be playing that much. Too focused on school, focused on homework and assignments.
Yeah. Which certainly does happen to every player playing in this tournament. Maybe they have a midterm tomorrow, they haven't actually been playing that much, or what. Although I guess it's March, so there's no midterms anymore. Maybe prepping for finals. I remember my college ended in May. I actually was 1 week away from going home for my birthday, and I thought that was insane because high school ends in like mid-June. But anyways, the roach warren is finally on the way, as do anticipate roaches just in general on this map. It's just a question of like, when do you get the roaches? Is it after Aspire? Is it really early on to rush with them? Playing Muta Ling Bling just doesn't really work on such a short map with such good areas for tanks to just in general splash, actually. The Hellion Banshee combo is an oldie but a goodie. And we do have Carnage preparing for it, as he scouted it with his Overlord. Scouted again here. Just make sure.
So Spore Crow's coming down. Of course, they're not going to straight up shut this down, but it'll at least give you the detection to work with queens and not get completely off guard. However, the Hellions, they do catch him a little off guard, and oh my.
There's a couple of roaches, but they don't really catch all of them. Get that one.
No, they don't. 10 workers down is a pretty nasty start. The funny thing is, this Banshee's not going to have that much to come back to kill if this had been a little bit worse. Now, he did just dump everything into drones, which is good to make up for the losses, but bad because his army supply is going to lack because of it. We get the extra queen coming out. Again, you knew that this Banshee was coming, so the thing to note is the Banshee can 1v1 a queen.
A little too much damage there. Because the Spore Crawler and Overseer are already prepared as he scouted this. More Hellions going to cross the map because we want to note that Buster is going to be going for mech here with his armory. A very oddly timed armory, but one that should be getting upgrades with the 3rd CC. More Hellions being sacrificed isn't even that big of a deal if you're going bio anymore. Like, Hellions really do not have that much of a job to do in Legacy of the Void, but especially if you're going to be just continuing to make Hellions, like, you can throw them away for some time. They're almost like adepts.
It's 18 workers killed for it, too. It's definitely worth the cost. Yeah. I mean, we've all seen it. We've all talked about it. A Zerg player taking losses like this in the early game is far worse than taking equivalent losses later on. So, unfortunately, Carnage is already kind of bleeding. And while he's going for what looks to be Roach Hydra, you need a decent economy to support that. Something he's not quite going to have on these 3 bases.
Yeah, still not an ideal saturation. Against a mech player, get to 60 drones, 3 bases real quick, and then worry about getting army, because you know they're not going to attack you with a main army force for some time, unless you're doing something like a 2-base push, but the Overseer did see the 3rd CC, so he knows that wouldn't be the case. And there it is, floating over right now. It's a question right now of what type of mech Buster does play. In, Heart of the Swarm, you had the people who did 2-base pushes, and they could be really strong. You had people who were insistent on going for just ground, despite going to the late game. But then, by the end of Heart of the Swarm, everyone was trying to just get to that ultra late game with Ravens. In Legacy of the Void, that died for a while. You rarely see anyone just think mech is going to be good in general, like in the early game. 2-base pushes sometimes exist, but it is about either going for the 3 base and getting onto like cyclones potentially, or the mass air you've been seeing from other Terran players, which has been really fun. But we actually have Thors on the way, so I guess it's going to be that land-based mech. First, he has to deal with a very oddly timed attack from Carnage, you know? Like, this isn't on the back of a very powerful economy, but it's hitting before the